Check, check, check. If you're hearing the sound of my voice or watching this on YouTube, that means you're now tuned into another chapter of the Introverted Intuition podcast. My name is Jeff, aka the Petty Podcaster, aka the Ambitious Introvert, aka the leader of the Libras. CR is not present tonight. He has food poisoning. I'm not sure what he ate, but we'll find out next episode. But tonight, we have returning guests, probably my favorite guest on Introverted Intuition, probably one of my favorite people I've only met once, which has never happened before. And I have her again tonight to talk about a lot. Please reintroduce yourself to our audience and introduce yourself to our new members of the audience as well.
Hi, I'm Devri Velazquez. I am Texas raised, but I live in New York, in Brooklyn, and I'm a writer and content creator.
Nice. Welcome back to the show. How are you? It's been, I think, over a year since you've been on the show, and since last time you've been here, so much has happened. How are you?
I'm all right. All things considered. I don't have coronavirus, so that's a blessing, and I'm just, hanging in there, and I've been just working and just trying to keep sane, really, because it's just, there's so much going on. So, yeah.
Way too much. I've been feeling a little off like these past 2 days, and I'm paranoid to get tested, and I'm trying to convince myself it's COVID. Have you felt that way at all?
Yeah, I've been having a lot of that random just anxiety about it, because it's you can't help I've been around people, and I just got back to New York a couple days ago, and the flight that I was on was packed, and so I was just so nervous the whole time. I was elbow to elbow with people in the seats, and people were coughing and stuff, and it's just, and in Texas, I came from Texas where I was quarantined, and the numbers are crazy out there. So I'm nervous, but I'm trying to isolate and be responsible about it. So,
When did all this feel real for you? Was it back in, what was it, end of February, early March, or did it just start feeling real to you?
It got really real to me in mid-March, when my job, my 9 to 5, they told us don't come in, and then I think someone at the office got it, and that made me so nervous. And then when I started quarantine, I was doing it here in Brooklyn for a little bit, and the neighborhood that I'm in is normally pretty lively and loud, and it was like a ghost town, and that just, it really hit me. And then I was I got to get out of here, because I was getting nervous, and I have a chronic illness, so it's my immune system is trash. So I was thinking about man, this is the way I'm gonna go out. This is it. And then I went to Texas to be with my family, and it just hit me. I felt like a fish out of water, and I felt just very out of place. And that's when it really got to me. I was for a long time, I was really low. I was low. I was really depressed and down, probably until May. And I just, every day I would wake up and I was just man, what's going on? I don't know. But that could be a Libra thing. Do you have a sense of, do you like having a sense of control?
Yeah. And honestly, when the quarantine happened, I'm naturally introverted, so staying in the house is really fine for me. But this time felt different because I was forced into this situation. So the loss of my routine, the loss of going to the gym and work every day, that really affected me the most. And then I didn't really enjoy. I still don't really enjoy being in the house and the introverted. It just feels so different this time around. The loss of my routine has been the hardest thing.
Yeah. Same. I've just been trying to find a routine, and and now I have to get reacclimated to everything here, and it's just I was just starting to get into a groove when I was in Texas. I was going on walks and the whole thing, and I was watching the sunset and stuff. But here, I'm just in my apartment. I'm chilling. I missed my bed, but and there's things that I missed, but it's just different. It's, for me, it's really different. So I'm trying to adjust, but I'm trying to keep my thoughts afloat,
Were you still working while you were in Texas, or was it just to mainly just to decompress and quarantine and be with family and stuff?
Yeah, I was working, and I have like with my work, like I have so many deadlines all the time. So I was like allowing myself to like kind of push the limit a little bit, just because I was trying to tell myself that I deserved to rest and relax. So I was still working, and I had like the pressure of, I know that a lot of people have gotten laid off and furloughed and stuff. And so I understood the blessing that it was to have a job still. I didn't want to take advantage of that. But at the same time, I didn't have like, for a long time, I haven't had the mental capacity to actually work and like be super productive. And up until recently, like, I feel like I was having a lot of guilt for that because, I was just like, some of my peers were like really thriving and using this time to be like productive and come up with all these cool ideas. And I haven't really been that motivated or inspired. It's been a lot for me to even want to get up and take a shower sometimes. So, or I've been taking a lot of showers. That's my way of dealing with it. Like I've been kind of ODing like on weird things where I'm just, it's just, I don't have a sense of control, and there's no routine. So I'm like, all right, this can be the third shower of the day for no reason,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the lack of like control and my plans and everything that I had planned for like spring and summer, like obviously that's not happening, and I'm still trying to adjust, but I'm trying to be more gentle on myself and like not be so fearful of like the future, what could happen.
It's funny, like I'm still kind of drown myself in social media, unfortunately, because I'm trying to walk this line between like being aware and like being at peace.
Yeah.
But in the midst of all that, like I've developed like this also guilt, but like um I don't a bit like I don't know, like my negative attitude and negative perception of myself is like really increased during this time, honestly.
Yeah.
I've been feeling. I mean, the one tweet I really see around is like that I used to see around a lot around the beginning of quarantine is like use this as an opportunity to learn something new and come out of this stronger.
Yeah.
But like you, like I had like no motivation to do anything, and I felt like really bad about myself because it's like I have all this time to do these things, and mostly what I do is like podcasting and writing. Like that's like the best thing that could reach many people, especially during this time because everyone's home on their phones and stuff like that. But I started doubting my contribution to my audience and the people who follow me and like just the world, and like it got really dark, and it still is a bit like that, but it's just tough. It's tough to like navigate through this time with a healthy mind and also maintaining that awareness as well. It's like you want to pay attention to everything that happens and know the updates, but it's like it's taxing.
Yeah. That's been my biggest, like, right when I was starting to get to a good like mental state, like, and I'm being just very honest and vulnerable, like, but when I was finally starting to get to a good place, like the George Floyd situation happened, and and then it just got like, I think for everyone it got really low, like anyone who's paying attention, like it just got really heavy. And then like the protests started happening, and I felt like a lot of pressure to show up for that. And so I went to 2 different protests and rallies, but like then I started feeling anxious and nervous about like getting sick. I was like, man, I'm out here, like, am I doing myself a disservice? Like on one hand, I'm showing up and I'm being a part of the movement and I'm like being vocal and active, but then on the other hand, like I'm not putting my health first. And it just started for me, I was juggling all these different emotions and feelings, and like all the news just was so depressing and sad all the time. I was just, I was just torn. Like I wanted to do all these things, but then at the same time, I just wanted to shut down and like go to sleep too, because I just didn't know how to handle it. And I'm just now getting back to a normal, like level-headed mindset. And coming here like helped me do that, because I'm in complete silence and solitude, and it's helping me recharge. But like It's been such a like what we're all going through right now is just like a lot. This is like so overwhelming.
Right. And I texted you about like protests and stuff like that. I felt guilty for not going, but I was honestly like really scared to go because I
Yeah.
was seeing what was happening to people while they were out there. And uh, from someone who's been at the protests, like what was it like from your perspective from the two times you went?
Yeah, it was for me it was peaceful. Like I made sure that the people I went with both times like knew ahead of time what my boundaries were, like my physical boundaries. Like I made sure that everyone around me who was in the group I was with like was gonna wear masks and it wasn't gonna be a problem. That we were all gonna social distance from the crowds so that we were going to walk on the outskirts, like and not be all up in the mix like that. And then just like we're gonna stay hydrated, we're gonna have our hand sanitizer. Like I made sure, you know, or me and my friends, like we all made sure all the logistics were taken care of because I didn't want to put us at risk, and I didn't want to be at risk because of my compromised immune system. Like that's so important for me right now, and it's been a little uncomfortable like drawing those boundaries because part of my complex I have with myself is that I feel the need to say yes and to people please sometimes, and even if it's against like my own good, and like I think that's like a Libra thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but it's like and it's I just put the pressure on myself. At the end of the day, it's like it's not a big deal if I say no to some stuff, but I think what I've realized like observing myself is that I tend to want to show up for everything and say yes. And like during a pandemic, you can't do that. Like you have to put yourself first and your health first. So I think that like I don't believe in shaming people who didn't go protest or go out in public. Like that's all up to the individual, and like you have to do what feels right for you because at the end of the day you're going to have to deal with the consequences if you do get sick or if you get hurt or injured from the police, like all the crazy stuff that was happening. People who were I was out on the front lines, and I told my friends the minute that I feel uncomfortable physically, I'm out. Like I'm out, no questions. Don't try to convince me to stay. Nothing. Like because I barely even feel like this. I'm barely at the edge of like thinking that this is a good idea for my health. But on top of that, if my safety is at risk, or if any of my people's safety is at risk, like we're out. And that was a non-negotiable. And like luckily, nothing happened to us. We were good. We were safe. But I understand that's not the experience for a lot of people, and someone like you would have more of a target on you because you're a Black man. So I understand, like, if you or anyone decides not to go or not to participate, that's absolutely valid to me. I understand completely.
It's funny, like I guess I'm so selfless in the sense that because I have that target, I would have rather take that target and whatever that came from it rather than someone else take it, like another Black woman or even another Black man, right? Like I just, but at the same time, like I was really terrified. Like
Yeah.
this is like I feel like for a lot of us, this is like probably the most traumatic times we're experiencing back to back in real time. Like around, like say like 25 to like 30, like this age group of people, this is like all happening to us real time. And I got cold feet and I felt guilty because it's like these people like yourself are risking their own health and their own safety and their own time to do this. And I'm just like, I'm not showing up. And
But you are though, and I think I texted you that too. It's like, and I'll tell anyone this, like you have to, someone told me this earlier. They said, that they're asking themselves how, like, what does me showing up look like? And you're not always going to best be utilized with your skills and your talent through like being out in the streets. Like for someone like you have a gift, you have a platform where you share stories and where you talk through things with people, and we're talking about real things, and like that's enough. That's more than enough. That's more than what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are staying silent. And I think like just any way like that. This is a form of advocacy. This is you showing up. So this is just as good as someone who doesn't have the words but knows that they can be out there providing hand sanitizer. Like, to me, it's on the same level of advocacy. So I don't think that it looks the same for anyone. I think it's different. And for me, after those 2 times, like, I felt good about that, and I'm not gonna keep doing that just because I'm not gonna keep upping my risk for catching COVID.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned people staying silent. Like, on social media, you have a relatively large following. You could be considered an influencer. What do you? I doubt you would shame these people. What are your thoughts on these people who have these larger platforms, who are just staying silent?
I think people who are not using their large platforms or any platform, I think anyone has a platform who is getting likes. Like, if you have people who are liking your content or reading it or watching it or listening to it, then you have an audience. And if you have an audience, you should be utilizing them or your platform to speak to them. And so I don't believe that, like, I'm not granting any mercy on people who have followings or platforms and they're not saying anything. Like, that is a big no-no for me. I've been checking on all the businesses that I support, like all the restaurants that I eat at, everything. I've been checking everyone's mission statements on the websites and before I purchase anything, because for me, like, that's also a form of protesting. Like, I'm gonna put my dollars behind corporations and organizations that are, like, vocal about what's going on. And if they're not speaking against racism or systemic oppression, then they're not going to get my money, period.
I'm in a weird space where, like, my job hasn't said anything about anything besides COVID. Yeah. And I need the money, right? Like, right. But I don't know what to do. Do you have any advice for that?
Nah, honestly, like, I believe in like burnout, and I've dealt with that, too. And it's such a shame, because it's like we have to play the game a little, as much as we can, because we're still a part of the system. So, like, we have to pay bills, we have to eat and take care of ourselves. And in order to do that, like, we got to get money, in order to get money, like, sometimes we have to abide by these systems and these structures that, don't include us and they don't care about us. But, like, as long as we are aware of that, then I think for me, like, that's the best I can do, or that's the best you can do, is just do your work, get the check, but, like, invest that check into your own personal, projects and your own professional things that you're trying to do, so that eventually the goal would be to, like, I would, like, financially emancipated from the system. Like, for me, that's always my first and foremost, my biggest goal. Like, if I get any kind of check or money, after I pay for my groceries, after I pay for my bills, like, whatever else I have left over, if I do have anything, it's like, how can I invest that into, like, one of my personal things that will eventually, like, liberate me completely from this system.
Right. I've never donated so much in these past few months than I have in my entire life, honestly.
Yeah.
Seeing all these different GoFundMes and stuff like that. You've done that as well, I'm sure?
Yeah, I've been trying to donate, but for me, like, I took a huge pay cut with my corporate job. And so, like, for me, and I still was paying rent when I was in Texas. I was paying rent for my Brooklyn apartment and trying to feed myself and stuff. So, like, financially, it didn't make a lot of sense. Like, I had to draw some lines for myself, because I was, like, starting to give and, like, not taking care of things at home. So I figured, like, the best way I could show up was to, like, if anything, just keep sharing those stories and keep sharing those links and stuff, So, yeah.
I guess it's fair to say that the George Floyd situation kind of sparked, it was like a domino effect, I feel. Once that happened, what's happening now is where we're at. And with that situation, there was real no gray area. I feel like everything we saw in the video was proof enough and a valid reason for our anger and our pain. Yeah. when you're seeing this in real time and you're getting stressed out, obviously your stress affects your immune system. Like what did you do in those moments to bring yourself back down? Did you talk to someone? Did you sleep? Did you eat? Like what are some practices that you use to calm yourself down?
Well, honestly, in the beginning, because this is the thing, I'm sober, or I was sober. Now the pandemic happened and quarantine started, and I actually started drinking a lot. And so that was one of my vices that came back to haunt me from the past, of like one of my old coping mechanisms that was very toxic. And for the first few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, like I was drinking a lot every single day. And I realized that, I would still wake up the next morning and the pain was still there. And I realized like this, I came so far. Like I had been 3 years sober, and I was mad at myself for that, and it was bringing me more down. And so I decided to stop again. And so, I had the little like 2 or 3 weeks where I had broken the sobriety, but like I got back to that. And after that, I started replacing all the times I would drink. Instead, I was praying and I was meditating. So like I just would have random conversations out loud, and I also would do this thing at night before bed. I would play, like on YouTube, I would just look up affirmations, and I would play that until I fell asleep. So like just positive affirmations that someone would repeat on, to me, and then I would knock out. And it would help, because the next day, and I still do it every night now, but the next day I wake up and I feel like lighter, I feel more motivated, and that's really been helping.
That's amazing. And you're currently still not drinking, right?
Yeah, I don't plan on it. Like when I commit to something, I'm pretty good at keeping that. So there's a lot of things that I'm like saying absolutely no to right now, and that's one of them. Yeah.
What about certain relationships that you've had with people? Like, have you noticed any changes in them during this time?
Yeah. That's another thing. Is like there's certain people that I was talking to every day. I was, kicking it with, and like I have not spoken to them. I erased their number, and I don't even know if they know that I did all that, because I have no idea. They don't have a way to contact me, but that for me, like I had to purge certain relationships and friendships and stuff. And I did it in a graceful way. Like I didn't explain to certain people like why they're not going to hear from me. But I know for my own mental health, like I just had to get rid of certain relationships, or at least cut them off for right now, because I know I wasn't in a good headspace to like receive the type of love or connection that they had. And or they were triggering to something that, was not good for me. So so my friend group looks different right now. I have like a lot of good, solid people in my life, but I'm not looking for any new friends, and I'm pretty like closed down in that category, like, because I need to focus on me right now. So.
Were any of these friends like? Did they happen to be not Black, and did they, like, maybe their reception of what's going on and maybe affect that?
No, they not really, but I do have a Black friend, because they're all Black, but like one of them was starting to get really close to a white person who like had different views than me, and to me it's like you're guilty by association. So like I can't mess with that right now, like but I'm not, at the same time, like I don't have all the energy in the world to try to like change people's minds and try to educate them and inform them. And like that's something that I had to like draw a boundary with, because some of my like white friends or peers or coworkers, like they've been texting me and emailing me and asking me all these questions, and I'm like, you need to do your own work and your own research. Like
Right.
I'm not your like dictionary for like Black Lives Matter. Like you need to like go out and do your own work. And in order to like be, and that's, I don't know, that part is just kind of weird to me, because it's like when the George Floyd thing happened, like all of a sudden all of these white people who want to be allies, which I'm so confused. I'm like, did black people just like turn up one day? Like realize, like it's like as if we're like a new thing that just showed up. Like, and people are like, oh my God, black people. It's like, bro, like we've been out here. We've been creating movies and books, and we've been accomplishing great things and inventing things. And like, I'm so confused, but I understand, I guess, like people are waking up, and like this is a new trend right now. And so I'm like, cool, I'm happy to help or point you in the right direction, but like, I'm not going to read the book for you. I'm not going to, like, you read the book and then you come talk to me, like, or, do your own research and then let's have a conversation. But like, you can't pick my brain, like, about what being anti-racist means, or what a Black struggle is. Like, I don't even feel comfortable speaking to that completely, like, because my experience obviously would be different than yours, or different than my mother's. So, who's a Black woman, and I'm biracial. Like, I have my own experience, but I also have my privileges too, and I acknowledge those privileges. And so, yeah, I don't feel like the authority for like Black Lives Matter movement. Like, I'm not that, I can't do that.
I feel like that's a kind of a perfect transition into. Are you familiar with what happened with like J. Cole and No Name and the song exchanges they did?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. So, what I got from that is the one thing that kept coming up in those conversations is tone, right? J. Cole wasn't receptive to how No Name expressed her views on how celebrities are maintaining their time and contributing, right? Yeah. And I feel that hit a nerve from him, because I'm not really sure why it hit a nerve, but it was a bit of a weird situation. And one thing I got from his song is that he was looking to her to give him information rather than shame him for not knowing. And I'm curious your thoughts on this. Like, I feel like sometimes in our community, mostly like people who literally don't know things get shamed for not knowing. And the response to it is usually like, what? How could you not know that? How could you know about what happened 20 years ago? How could you not know this? It's like really like kind of, it can be perceived as aggressive, but I feel like it's out of frustration because the person who's looking for the information is leaning on that person to teach them when they can do the work themselves. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on people just not knowing and seeking information, and then the response to it being that aggressive tone?
Yeah, I think like for me, I never work in that aggressive way. Like, I'm very passionate, but my passion doesn't mean I have to be aggressive or hostile. And like, that's something I had to learn as I got older and wiser, because definitely like my passion used to be aggression, and it used to be anger, and it used to be hostility. But I realized as I've gotten older, I think that's tied to like ego. And I've always, with every year, I'm 30 years old, and like with every year of my life, I've always tried to shed the ego more and more. And so now when I can sense when someone's coming to me in a genuine manner and they really want to learn something. And in that case, I'm not going to like meet them with aggression or shame them, because I'm like, that's awesome that that they're trying to learn something and they trust me to point them in the right direction. Like, I really appreciate that. And I feel honored when someone wants to include me in their growth journey, like, or they look at me as a reliable source for that. But when I can also, on the flip side, sense when someone is just being lazy, or they're not being genuine, and they're just looking to me as a passionate person, and they want to exploit my passion. And they're like, you have all the answers, or you've done the work. Tell me, it's the equivalent to someone cheating on a test and sitting down and just copying someone's paper. It's not fair, and it's not okay. And versus if someone genuinely, you had a study buddy and you were really working hard to try to get an A on that test, but your skills aren't there, or you were lacking in certain information, but your study buddy understands, they have compassion for it, and they give you some answers, or they point you in the right direction. To me, that's different. And I'm more of that person. I'm willing to work with you if you are willing to work. And if you want to be a student, if you want to learn, and I have resources or answers or tools, I'll gladly provide them. I'll gladly point you in the right direction. But I'm not just going to hand you a paper with all the cheat codes. I'm not going to do that.
I think that's the problem. It's like a back and forth between the black man and black woman. It's like we're looking for each other to lead, but in my opinion, I feel like we should be standing next to each other, exchanging information equally.
Yeah.
But I just thought that situation was very interesting because first, I think the timing was wrong. But
so was she shaming him? Is that?
No, I don't think she was shaming him. I think she was just shaming celebrities in general, just not using their platform correctly during this time. But like she did that to a series of tweets first, and then J. Cole's song seemingly was like random. But I guess he heard the song and maybe personalized it, and his ego got involved in the situation, and then his song response came.
Mm-hmm.
But another conversation around that topic I've seen is like policing tone. And I've been guilty of saying things just how it comes in my mind and how it's in my heart. I'll just say it without any regard of how someone will internalize it.
Yeah.
And I think we do need to be more conscious with how we say things. But when I look at like a situation like Sandra Bland, who was just saying how she felt and she was murdered because of that, I check myself and it's like, no, fuck that. Just say how you feel regardless. So it's just like a weird battle with that situation and tone and how we say things, because we could get killed for less. So
that's something that I deal with often. Like, I'm very uncensored with my. I'm mindful and aware of how people might receive something, but I still speak my truth, and I am very unfiltered and uncensored with my own personal stories, because they're my stories and no one can tell me different, or they're my experiences. So I do fear that sometimes I fear that those things will get me in trouble. And especially being someone who is a part of the corporate environment, or someone who I work with organizations, I work with corporate structures, I do fear sometimes that that's going to hurt me in the end with like getting my bag, and getting my check, because people want you to fit into a certain box and they want you to be obedient to them and to they want you to have a certain amount of manners and chivalry, which is why, like, I'm from the South, but that's always been something I disagreed with. I don't believe in Southern hospitality in the sense of just being polite for the sake of being polite. Like, you have to earn that shit. And I'm not going to just hold a door open for you or call you yes, ma'am, or no, sir. I've never said yes, ma'am in my whole life, because since I was little, I've always been very defiant in that way. I don't believe in those social norms. But for that reason, that has sometimes like bit me in the ass with trying to move forward in my career, because people know that when they're, buying in on me or some kind of plan or idea I have, like, they know that they're going to be taking a chance with me, like, not being filtered and not, even the way that I present myself. I don't always iron my clothes. I wear my hair natural, out in the afro, as big as I can get it. Like, there's certain things. I have a lot of tattoos, and there's just certain things about my presentation even that, I walk up into a board meeting, but like, I'm wearing Chucks and I'm chilling and I'm wearing jeans, and people are confused and they will judge me before they hear me speak or before they read my resume. And then they're confused, they're conflicted, because they know, like, I offer the things that they're looking for on a logical level, on an intellectual or professional level, but like at the same time, I'm saying this, I talk like this, and I look like this. And it's like I'm constantly dealing with that. But for me, I've made up my mind a long time ago when I entered this world, especially just as a professional, like I made such a commitment to myself to remain true to my identity. Every single thing about my identity, I own it 100%. And because this is who I am and I cannot hide it. It would hurt me so badly to have to hide any parts of my identity ever, you know? So that's a commitment like that I made to myself, is that I will not do that no matter how much it costs me.
Mm. That's an incredible mind state to achieve. I feel, especially during this time when we're seeing Black people, we're seeing other Black people being killed just for who they are and their situation, whatever, just like random, I don't want to say random, but like Black people are just being killed, right? So I feel like some people in our community may be developing a mentality that who they are and the way they look just isn't acceptable, and then they won't appreciate themselves. Like, we aren't appreciated anywhere we go.
Yeah.
There's nowhere we can go where we're safe from racism. There's nowhere we can go where we're safe from hate.
Yeah.
And I think more people need to develop your mentality, but I just don't know how we could tell them to, because it's all about who you are, you're inside of your core. I mean, when you're saying these things, like, and I'm saying these things, I'm talking to myself as well, because I deal with my insecurities and I wear them on my sleeve, and I'm trying to navigate my way through this world as a Black man. And it's hard to, I guess, fully, this is just strictly how I feel. It's hard for me to fully accept who I am when I'm not accepted anywhere. Even within my own communities, like, I feel like people look at me sometimes and they don't even see a Black man. I get confused for someone who's Indian or whatever. And it's just like, I know myself in my core, but you see something different. And it's like, it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you achieve that fully comfortable mind state, that fully sure of yourself mind state of who you are. It's just really hard when you're presented with so many examples of who you are is not accepted, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely working on that.
You know what? But like I said, I really believe this. Like, you're doing more than enough. You as an individual are doing way more than enough, because this world and this nation and this society was not built for someone like you. Like, they didn't give a fuck when, like, the powers that be colonized this land. Like, they did not. They saw you as a commodity. They saw you as property. They didn't see you as a human being. And so that's perfectly understandable to me when I hear that, you know, that struggle that you or a person like you experiences, you know, and just having to navigate all those things all the time. Like, that just must be so exhausting. Like, because I know what my experience is like, you know, dealing with certain things, but I still have privileges. Like, I'm still a woman who, you know, if I'm in the right group of people and it's like a male dominated room and they're like straight males, like, I know I could finesse the hell out of that room, or there's certain things I have a privilege to do, or I have a light skin privilege, you know, and I understand that those are things that I can use to my advantage in society, or the way that, you know, I'm well read and well spoken, and I understand that can captivate somebody, and that could take away that, you know, that's a privilege that I have, and I'm acknowledging those things. Versus, you know, if people off rip, like, as soon as you walk into a room, if it's not going to be a room full of other Black people, like, you're going to be met with some weird tension all the time. Like, that's your whole life. That's your whole experience. It's like having to navigate spaces that don't, that up until recently really, or not even, I don't know, you know, but they don't include you. They don't consider you. They don't look at you and think of a equal human being. They think of, you know, there's just all this very, like, deep rooted racism that still exists. That's still, you know, this modern day slavery that and just all these things that still exist. You know, it didn't end when Jim Crow era ended. It didn't end when segregation started in the civil rights movement. It didn't end when MLK started marching. Like it didn't end when Abraham Lincoln, you know, signed the law for slavery to end like that. It didn't end. You know, it still is going on every day. And so I commend you, or, you know, any Black brother who's out here and who's like really doing the damn thing, because I think that's just very risky, and you're navigating a world successfully that like was not made with you in mind. So that's big.
That means a lot. And the world that we are in, I feel like with certain states reopening, just Texas just reopened.
Yeah.
But COVID still exists, and people are like thirsty for normalcy because we've been trapped in the house for so long. People are looking at any chance to get back to whatever normal is to them. And being that you're back in New York, certain things are opening over there. How thirsty are you for normalcy? Will you be doing certain things that you were doing prior to the pandemic, or will you still move cautiously?
No, I'm definitely going to move cautiously for the rest of this year, at least. I'm not, I hung out with a few people, not since I got back to New York, but in Texas, I was hanging out with some people, but I was always socially distanced. I didn't hug anyone. I didn't touch anyone. You know, even my family, like my niece and nephew, I was just very careful. And so I'm going to remain careful. That's why I said that's part of the reason why I'm not really even trying to make any new friends or anything. Because if I don't know what your life is like or your background is like, then I can't fuck with it right now. Like, I'm not trying to get to know it, you know, or like I don't want to question somebody's like what their own, you know, what their own health standards are and stuff. Like, I'm not trying to do all that. So I'm in the house, and I ordered my groceries delivery, and like I'm really like so serious about all of this, because I would be you know, knock on wood, but I would be one of the first to go, like, if something happened. You know, my immune system's not built to fight off things, so like I have to be very precautious.
And are you still able to see like a doctor regularly to maintain your condition?
Yeah. I see. I get an infusion, or like it's like a chemo like treatment, but it's not as harsh as cancer chemo. Like my hair doesn't fall out or anything, but I get that every 3 months. And so I'm due for my next treatment, and I'll be getting that in a couple weeks. And I've still been going to other doctor's appointments and just like wearing my mask, and because I have a lot of doctors, I have a lot of medical issues, so that's all tied to like the illness. So I take care of all that. I still get my prescriptions, take all my medicine and stuff. And yeah, I've just been really diligent about that, like more than ever, because I'm trying to stay on top of this.
As you should. Do you like wash down and spray down all your groceries and stuff like that? You put them in the tub or something like that?
I didn't wipe down my groceries, but I wiped down all my handles, all the light switches. Like I splurged yesterday as a treat to myself on a housekeeper. So I was, you know, it was just something like mentally when I got back to my apartment, I was like, I have no idea what's been happening here the last 3 months. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and hopefully I won't regret the purchase. But I did that, and it felt really good, you know, to have someone like really like deep clean everything before I like laid down and felt comfortable about it. So I even like I got rid of my sheets, because I'm trying to remember who was in my sheets last time. So I was like, let me just get some new sheets and start over. Because when I left here and went to Texas, like I kind of left in a frenzy, you know, like, so there's just a lot that I left behind and like didn't think twice about. So that's why, and I don't know what's been going on since I was away. So I just decided to kind of start over new in that way, just to give myself like a little bit of peace of mind.
And does like the energy even feel the same as before you left? Like, does it just, I don't know, when you just walk outside or be in your apartment, does it feel the same at all?
No, not at all. It feels so surreal. Like I went around the corner yesterday and today to get some coffee, and because I'm still trying to like support my local coffee shops, and I'm like a huge coffee person. So
Mm.
I was taking my stroll to get my coffee, and it's like such a ghost town over here. It's so weird. It's like so quiet, but I like it. I'm really enjoying this because this isn't typical New York. You know, this isn't the experience that I thought that was going to be 2020. So I'm trying to embrace it and really enjoy this peace and solitude because I realized like how much I needed this, and I haven't had this in so long.
This is literally like a reset standstill button. Like, I feel December 31st, 11/59, 2019, nobody could have expected any of this. We all had plans, we all had things set in stone, and all that's gone. Going forward with your expectations, do you have any, or will you just take each day for what it is?
Definitely just going to take each day for what it is, and just be gentle on myself because I feel like I, this, yeah, like you said, this is a reset. And for me, this is a pause too. And not even a pause, but it's a slowdown. Like I've been doing everything much more slower and not being as rushed, not feeling as much pressure. Like I said, even with my 9 to 5, with my job, I'm working off of deadlines all the time, tight deadlines. But I work best under pressure, so I get to the things when I get to them, but I don't stress myself out too much, and I'm just trying to realize or remember every day like that I wake up, that's a blessing, and that's enough. And if that's the biggest thing that I do all day is wake up and change into some clothes and put on some makeup, then
Yeah.
that's cool. That could be fine. I'm trying not to hold myself to such high standards that I basically have been doing my whole adult life. And I'm just, if I still have a job, if I'm still able to feed myself and I have a roof over my head, like that's good. I'm good right there.
Yeah, as long as you have that, I think that's fine. I've been trying to like um, maintain some bit of what life was for me prior to all of this. Like, working out at home is not easy, as you can imagine. Being in the comfort of your own home, you don't want to really do anything but enjoy that comfort.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to like chip away at that shell of like laziness and non-motivation to do
Yeah.
stuff. Even to do podcasting is kind of hard. Like, I mean, it doesn't feel the same. Like
Yeah.
talking through the phone, it's kind of more taxing than in person, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know, it's like you got to go through the form of like setting up the call and like getting in the chat, whatever. It's like too
Yeah.
many extra steps. I just prefer to talk to people in person. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel as real. I mean, it's real, but I don't know, like the level of intimacy that comes with it is just lost, I feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're going to be stuck in for. I'm choosing to stay stuck in this for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But, like, did you feel that at all? Like, you couldn't even hug your family. Like, the loss
Yeah.
of intimacy is gone because of COVID. Like, do you think about
Yeah.
that?
Um, Honestly, like I don't know if we spoke about this last time, but I do not care to hug people. I'm not a big hugger, and I think that's probably some childhood issues, to be honest. But I'm not that physically intimate. Like that's not my first nature. So it's okay for me. I don't feel like I'm missing out on like hugging people and all that. But and if anything, I'm taking this moment as a time to, because I'm single, so I'm taking this moment as a time to like really date myself. Like I'm just with me, and that's fine. And I like it. It's been such a long time since I've really been single, not just kind of single and dating some people on the side, but like really single, not doing anything with anyone.
Yeah.
It feels really good to just have me all to myself.
Mm.
And you know, and I'm really appreciating that, and I'm enjoying it. I'm laying in the middle of the bed, spread out, like, wow, this feels so good, you know, because it's just I haven't had any of that in so long, and I didn't realize how badly I needed that alone time in that space. Like, it feels good to me. I think the main thing the main thing for me has just been the motivation. Like, that's been my biggest issue during quarantine. It's just feeling motivated, and like you said, just feeling lazy, and you know, like not wanting to even get dressed, or I don't want to make anything to eat. I want to eat because I'm hungry, but I don't want to make it.
Yeah.
You know, and like it's just a lot for me. But the intimacy and the in-person stuff, not so much, just because. And then, like, you know, like I said earlier, I have always felt a lot of pressure to say yes to everything and to show up to everything.
Right.
And this is giving me a good excuse to like not show up. You know,
That's very true.
I don't have to keep making excuses. I can just be like, bro, we're in a pandemic. Like, I'm not.
That's so perfect. I'm like, it's funny. I'm on the flip side of that. Like, I actually started my relationship that I'm in now, literally at the cusp, like the beginning
Yeah.
of COVID. So it's been really unique because we've been taking like 2-week increments to see each other just to stay safe with the whole 14-day thing.
Yeah.
It's different. It's not easy, but it's been providing me a form of solace I think I would have needed if I didn't have it during this time.
That's good.
Like, having that one person to like go to about whatever's going on. It's I don't know. I've always felt like more comfortable speaking to my friends and my partners than my actual family. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's weird. Maybe that's something I know it's something I need to really work on, but I just feel more comfortable. I feel like I can open up more. But yeah, I think honestly, this relationship I'm in has definitely been one of my saving graces during this time for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't really encourage it. Like, I mean, it's people crave that intimacy, they crave that touch, that whatever. But like, don't put your life at risk for this shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But I mean, that's beautiful. Like, I think some of my friends who are in relationships, I think this is really like this is a big moment to experience with someone else. So that's also, I think that really, for people who are just dating and stuff, I think if two people can make it during a situation like this, then that says a lot about the solidness of y'all's of a relationship. So I know that the person I was with before this wasn't shit. So we wouldn't have made this. Yeah, it was a wrap. We quarantined together for like the first week, and then that's when I was like, all right, I'm gonna head out to Texas because it just wasn't, and that's why but that was my own personal thing. I think that this really does make or break a lot of situations with friends, family, all of that, roommates, everyone. So
Yeah, I felt coming into this year would make or break everyone in different ways, but I definitely didn't expect it in this way.
yeah,
The pressure of coming into a new decade, it felt like an end all be all thing, and like
yeah,
the strong will survive, the weak will not. And unfortunately, the way it turned out, that's kind of true. But I
yeah.
didn't expect it in this way. Like, two more questions. This is kind of like a quote. I've been listening to a lot of Dr. Umar Johnson. You familiar with him?
Mm-hmm.
He's like one of the most problematic, smart people I've heard speak. And he said he had an interesting quote on like protests, and this is my background and my thoughts on protesting prior to this year. I felt like they were really pointless. I felt like there was like a lot of like hype around it, and people, the unity was great, but I feel like there was really no action after the protests.
Yeah.
And one thing he said from an interview he did with the Breakfast Club is he said protests are the program to let the world know what you stand for. And that's so simple, but it's like so true. And I feel like without the protesting that's been going on post George Floyd and like Breonna Taylor, most recently Elijah McClain or whatever,
Yeah.
I think if no one protested or said anything about this, the world would just continue on.
Mm-hmm.
And being someone that's at protest, post the protest, have you noticed any change?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I totally agree with that. It's definitely setting a tone, and I think that what's happening right now with the protest is changing social media as we know it. And everyone's like back to normal, I guess, with their selfies and stuff, but then it's like, okay, what about Breonna Taylor? We're still bringing these things back into the conversation. We're not, and from what I see, we're not straying away from it yet, but I do anticipate that it's going to die down because that's what happens with any movement. But, I do hope that people really, like, this is ingrained in them, that there needs to be change. There needs to be different actions after the protest trend like dies down or whatever. Like, we need to continue the work every single day, especially more than ever, like the non-POC allies, the white people, or the white passing people, need to really show up and step up. And I know mentally, like in my mind, I'm going to be making notes. Anyone who I see, any of my coworkers or anyone that I know who's white, who I'm friends with or cool with, like, y'all got to step your game up. Like, every day of your life, you have to step up your game. Right. And be aware. And so, yeah, I just hope that it doesn't, the passion and all that doesn't die down after it's like not cool anymore to post protest pics.
Yeah, the media is doing a good job of like not really showing it up on the feeds and stuff like that. So
yeah,
we think it's over. But another thing he said is white people have freedom. White people have freedom, the ability to make decisions without external control. Black people have liberty, the ability to make decisions of external control given to you. Did I misquote this quote? Damn it. Black people have liberty, the ability to make decisions of external control gave to you, like given to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if you agree with that. I think I botched the quote, but the difference between freedom and liberty. Do you, from your perception of our community, Black people, do you think we are free, or do you think we are still shackled by other people's control of what we do and how we live?
Yeah, I don't think as a whole demographic that we're free at all. As a whole race is it's a social construct, but as Black people with melanin, no, I don't think. I think a lot of us are still very much oppressed, and we try to appease the white presence, the white people in the room. We try to, we code switch, we change up how we speak, we change our posture. Up until, the natural hair movement really took off years ago, we were changing our hair and like everything. We were really adjusting, to the white gaze. Like it was always about how do they perceive us or do they accept us? And, and that gave us a lot of inferiority complexes that we carry with us because of our ancestors. And, but I do have hope that in 2020, we're finally like getting close to dismantling this. Like when we're talking about abolishing the police system and, reconfiguring the justice system and like, we're really like, we're talking about that. I'm like, all right, bet. Like I have hope in this future when it comes to what a racist free world looks like. Like I actually do have hope. I didn't think I was ever going to see that in my lifetime or my kids' lifetime, but I have hope that, I think it's like it's becoming more and more unacceptable to publicly be racist or to even be quietly racist. And so I'm really down with that. And I have hope. I have a lot of hope. But I do think that as it stands right now, a lot of us are still very much oppressed. But I think we're breaking into a new phase. So.
I agree with everything you said. And this is why I love perspective, because I felt like from my side of things, I feel like the escalation of the aggression and the oppression is because their grip on this is loosening. I feel like
Yeah.
we have more black women and men who are in positions of power with leverage, and more lawyers and doctors and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and just educated and aware. So, and I think that's what scares them, is our awareness and
Mm-hmm.
our focus. So this is why I feel like we are freer than we've ever been. And I think, again, the escalation of the aggression is because of that.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with what you're saying.
No, yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of it's the awareness. Like, yeah, I agree with that. It's the level of awareness that we have. It's scary for white people are like, whoa, we didn't know that they were gonna pick up on all this stuff that we were doing, and yeah, it's making me happy. It's making me hopeful, but I do think that there's still a lot of problematic things that are happening. Like the fact that there's these looters and rioters who are like exploiting this movement that should be very peaceful. And I understand their rage. I do. I understand people's rage completely. I understand it. And that's a form of anger against like capitalism. And I totally agree. I understand it, but I don't think that it's necessary. I think that it's actually counterproductive because a lot of times they're the people who are looting and rioting are like actually destroying like disenfranchised communities, and like it's going to require more money to reconstruct that. And like the way that the system is put in place right now, there's not money in dollars that are allocated towards caring about like those communities. So I think that's counterproductive to loot and riot, but I understand the rage and the anger that's behind it. But that still exists. So that's why I say like there's still a lot of our society is still very much oppressed because, and then there's the rappers, there's certain music that I like who they still call women bitches, and they still say I got chains on me like a slave, and like they use punchlines and things that to me just sounds so oppressed. Even though it's like it will be on a beat that I'm like, yeah, I fuck with this. At the same time, I'm like, oh, what they're saying is very problematic, and there's a lot of self-hatred or a lot of unawareness of who they are and where they come from. So until that is completely wiped out, then I think for that reason, I don't think we're completely liberated.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if we had this segment on the podcast when the last time you came on, but don't sleep. Do you sound familiar?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so a segment on our podcast called Don't Sleep, where it's basically we recommend something to our audience they shouldn't sleep on. It could be something as simple as the food you have, or it could be something a bit deeper. And mine is, I think people shouldn't sleep on the belief that things will change. And what I mean by that is like this is like the darkest times I think we've collectively again like we've all been in, especially in our age group.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find the hope within it all, especially when you have constant reminders of things happening back to back. But if you convince yourself and you live in a space of hope and belief, and this is me, I'm telling this to the audience, but I'm also telling this to myself, that if you live in a space of hope, then the reality that you shape will mirror that.
Mm-hmm.
So things will change eventually if you put in the work and you believe that things will get better. So I just encourage everyone to don't sleep on hope, don't sleep on change, and don't sleep on the belief that things will get better. Do you happen to have anything?
I'll piggyback off of that. I would say don't sleep on manifestations. Like to me, I'm a writer and I believe heavily in the power of words. And when I manifest something, I've been doing this for like very actively for about 6 or 7 years, I would say. And I journal everything that I want. I write it down. I meditate on words every day. So I'll think of certain words, or if I see a sign, or like I'm always noticing signs and symbols, and I'll think about those things all day. And like I feel like they're guiding me down a certain path, then I'm going to listen to that because I think that's the universe like speaking to me. And I'll manifest certain things. And I even manifested that I was going to be in an empty apartment. Like, I wrote down in my journal in January that I was going to need solitude and silence. And like, here I am, and I have it. And I'm like, wow, this isn't what I expected how it was going to happen. But like, that's the power of my words, or that's the power of my request is, if you say it, you start believing it. And if you start believing it, it's going to happen. And so I would say the same thing, like, keep the hope, keep the faith, and know that change is going to come.
Right. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Please shout out where people can follow and support you.
Everything is my name. So it's, my first name is Devri, Devri, and my last name is Velazquez. So just type in V and hopefully it'll auto-populate.
Yeah, it'll be in the bio for this episode and all that. One last thing I want to tell you, my book is done. I finished my book last month.
Really? Oh yeah. My gosh.
Actually, tomorrow I'm going to start the publishing phase of it. So
wow.
I wanted you to be the first to know.
That is amazing. Are you going to share the name, or we have to wait?
I'm going to wait a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll probably send you over like a little the copy I have when it's all done.
Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely. That is awesome. That gives me a lot of motivation because I have not written anything for mine in months. So yeah, like, I'll open up the documents and then I just close them because I'm like, I just haven't been motivated to do that. So that gives me a lot of inspiration.
That's awesome. I was like that for a while, but I just buckled down and somehow got it done. I'm still scared to actually say I'm officially done, but
yeah,
I'm just gonna leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
No, you just manifested, like, it's gonna happen. You're gonna sell a lot of copies. A lot of people are gonna like it. I'm saying all that right now to the universe.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's it. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, obviously support Devri and follow her. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all that. And that's it. Thank you again, Devri.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
All right, you too.